Hello, everyone. My name is Caroline. Remember Burgerville, that wonderful imaginary place where food items are self-aware and strive to make a more equitable and safe community? Well, it turns out that factory still is dumping dirty water into the river, you remember? The one in which all the citizens of Burgerville like to use for swimming? Now, that's a load of baloney. So listen. One day, Cindy Sandwich decides to take her two kids down to the river to swim, but she sees all sorts of dead fish on the water. She explains to her children they can't swim because of that dirty, rotten factory. The kids decide to make Stop the Factory t-shirts and wear them to school to raise awareness. But when they arrive, their teacher reports them to the office and they are suspended for a week. Not only that, they are only allowed to return if they do not wear the t-shirts. Sound familiar? It might, because in 1969, in the real world, a brother and a sister, along with a few of their friends, wore black armbands to school in protest of America's involvement in the Vietnam War. They were suspended from school and told to not come back with the armbands too. They instead wore all black for the rest of the school year, and the parents and students filed a lawsuit over their right to free expression and won. This case is known as Tinker versus Des Moines, and is considered a landmark case in America because it established the legal precedent that freedom of expression does not stop at the schoolhouse gate, as long as the expression does not disrupt learning. But let's slow down for a second and discuss what we will cover today. Today, we will identify the civil rights and liberties contained in the Bill of Rights, as well as analyze the ways in which civil rights and liberties limit the government and empower individuals. Alert! Alert! Starting off, we must define a few terms first. First, we have the term landmark case. A landmark case is a court case that is remembered and studied because it sets a legal precedent. We will be seeing quite a few of these show up in this and the next few lessons. The next word is precedence. Precedence is a legal term which means the impact or interpretive impact each legal case has on the future. Now that we've got those down, let's talk about the Bill of Rights. Freedom of expression is one of the most famous rights Americans have listed for them in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is a list of the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution. These 10 amendments are separated into 3 categories. Rights 1, 2, and 3 are known as civil rights and civil liberties, and the right to freedom of expression can be found there. Today, we will discuss this category and the amendments found inside of it. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights deals with religion, speech, petition, assembly, and press. That's right, it is a civil liberty to practice one's religious beliefs freely. Coupled with the freedom of speech, this amendment forms a right from government censorship that creates a liberty to freely express oneself. Alert! We have an alert! New word coming your way, people. Censorship is the suppression or prohibition of any parts of books, films, news, etc. that are considered obscene, politically unacceptable, or a threat to security. The right to petition is a civil liberty that protects not only your ability to disagree, but also your right to request changes be made. The right to assembly is the right to gather without unfair oppression. These 2 rights are meant to preserve the ability for citizens to hold the government accountable and be transparent. The Second Amendment outlines the right for the citizenry to bear arms and to maintain a militia. The right to bear arms is considered to be a vital check on federal power. The right to maintain a militia was created at a time when states were considered the primary source of armed forces, and it was understood that these armed forces would be drawn from an armed population. Ring the bells and we have another one! A militia is a military organization of citizens, sometimes with limited military training, which is available for emergency service, usually for local defense. Let's discuss 2 very important recent landmark gun law cases dealing with Second Amendment rights. Remember, landmark cases help us understand how these amendments are being interpreted. The first of these cases was decided in 2008. District of Columbia versus Heller established that individuals did have the right to keep handguns in their homes for self-defense. In the District of Columbia, federal law has sole jurisdiction because Washington, D.C. is not a state. However, it also sets limits on the Second Amendment, stating that laws could be created to keep guns out of the hands of people who are considered to be dangerous, as well as out of schools and other sensitive places. Finally, it stated that legislatures have the option to put conditions on the commercial sale of firearms. However, this case left open whether or not states could impose these different restrictions. Interesting, right? To this last point about the ability for states to create laws to restrict guns, the other notable recent landmark case is McDonald versus City of Chicago from 2010. In this landmark case, the Supreme Court ruled that the Second Amendment applied to states as well as the federal government. In this case, while a complete handgun ban was overturned, this decision did say that state laws regarding gun control were justified. The Third Amendment says that there should be no quartering of soldiers. No quartering of soldiers means that soldiers cannot be forcibly housed in people's homes. This rule was an important development because the practice of quartering troops was commonplace during the French and Indian War as well as during the Revolutionary War. Imagine being forced to house troops where you live on a moment's notice. That kind of inconvenience and invasion of privacy was something the Bill of Rights addressed. So in Burgerville, those little munchkins would have the right to protest that rotten factory thanks to their First Amendment rights. Good on ya, you savvy little sausages! This ends our lesson on the civil rights and liberties outlined in the Bill of Rights. The next section will discuss the next category of rights in the Bill of Rights known as legal rights. Today we learned that the Bill of Rights protects your ability to act in a democratic society. We call these civil rights and civil liberties, and they help us express ourselves. Well, that's it for our lesson today. The next section will discuss the next category of rights in the Bill of Rights, known as legal rights. For now, this is Caroline signing off. Have a wonderful day, and remember, vote, debate, and participate.
Hey, hey!